Hey guys, what's up? As if we don't have enough problems in our lives dealing with low-level narcissists and sometimes mediocre narcissists, today I want to talk about how you can keep yourself safe dealing with high-level narcissists. Narcissists that have a lot of access, a lot of room to make a mess. And what frequency are you on? Because with these reports of the coronavirus, and reports of losing Kobe Bryant and all these different things that are happening, and you're seeing all of this on your news feed. And if you watch television, which I don't watch the local channels anymore over the last 3 years, you can kind of get this fear of like, what the hell is going on, right? And my daughter called me today and said that she was sick, and I almost had this fear, but I don't want to transmit that kind of energy because I'm staying on a different frequency, right? But when you keep hearing about this virus and how it got over here, and you know that the news will underreport, the news will tell you 100 people have it, we've contained it, but then out of those 100 people, 50% of them die. And so you have to kind of read between the lines. So today we're going to talk about the bigger narcissists and why this type of stuff is happening, and what you can do to make sure that you protect yourself and stay on the right frequency. Because a lot of people are going to be wiped out, but it doesn't have to be you. People with narcissistic personality disorder, or narcissistic people operating with highly narcissistic traits, usually don't want them to know who you are. But their behavior, though it's unpredictable, becomes predictable when you can identify it. Recently, we've been getting a lot of crazy news, shocking news, like Kobe Bryant's helicopter going down. And you would think that a person like Kobe Bryant, who has the support and the funding and the different things that he needs to make sure that he is staying safe, because he's a huge icon, and a large part of the world, a vast majority of the world, is looking at him. He has fans, he's an excellent player, he's also a dad, right? And so we would think that this person has access to enough information, enough professionals to be able to get on a helicopter and make it to practice with other people, other members of our society. Let's not forget about them. I do not want to forget about them. You know, the husband and wife and child that died, and someone who was on the ground, and his wife was on that plane. I'm not sure if she was a coach, but there were many other people on the plane whose lives were just as valuable. But this is what Kobe thought that he could rely on, right? But how do narcissistic people operate? And what does this have to do with Kobe Bryant, right? So Kobe Bryant, there are a few conspiracy theories out there related to a pharmaceutical company. I'm not going to feed into this theory. However, you probably heard that we know that Kobe's nickname is Black Mamba, and that he developed this nickname to separate his basketball life from his professional life, right? And so he used this. He has foundations using Black Mamba, right? And so now a pharmaceutical company decides that they want to create some type of supplement with using the name Black Mamba. And then there's a second term that they're using together with Black Mamba that could actually, in Kobe Bryant's perception, or his legal team's perception, felt that this company was actually playing off of Kobe's fame, wanting to use the term Black Mamba to be able to name their the power structure or the force inside of this pharmaceutical or vitamin or supplement that they are launching to the public. And so Kobe wanted to stop that. And so you have some people thinking that one thing has something to do with the other. We don't know what it was, but this is something I can tell you most certainly. And I talked about this on my Instagram about who's breaking the laws. There are laws that we need to follow. Kobe decided that he wanted to own a helicopter, that he wanted to be able to make the most of his day and be able to be the super dad that he was, take his daughter to practice, go to his own practice, deal with all the things that a person of his magnitude and of his status has to do in a day. And he thought that a helicopter would be the best way to beat LA's traffic and be able to get these things done. And he should have been able to. Now, this is not to say that Kobe Bryant is more important than any one of us, but let's be honest here, he has more access, right? And so you think with this kind of access that he could actually live this way. He should be able to get home safely, get his daughter to practice safely, get back to his work or whatever obligations that he has done. But this did not happen. Why is that? So this is why it's so important to identify the narcissists in our lives, right? Because sometimes they get in there. Here's the problem with narcissistic people, with their magical thinking, with the fact that they don't have a conscience and empathy. Now, we know that in order to be able to make good decisions, especially decisions that involve other people, that extend out to the safety, the comfort of other people, we need to have a conscience. The thing with narcissistic people is that they don't have that. So when they make decisions, these decisions are only based on how the outcome is going to serve the narcissist. So I'm sure that the pilot on the plane didn't want to kill himself, right? But who was he relying on to give him information to get through this particular flight? Okay. Did anyone report? In 2020, we have incredible technologies that we can use. Now, from my understanding and my research, when a person gets inside of a helicopter, they have to reach a certain altitude or a certain amount of feet within the sky space to be picked up on different levels of radar that can help or assist the pilot with getting through maybe some type of obstruction or obstacle. In this case, this pilot could not make it into, according to reports that I've read and some of the research that I have done, when this pilot realized that he was dealing with a choking thick fog, he tried to reach out, but he was having some trouble reaching out to the level of aid that he needed because of his distance between their towers and where he was. And so basically he was on his own. But before he even went up, do you mean to tell me that we don't have the technology yet to be able to assess the space that he is about to occupy, that he's planning on occupying, to bring Kobe from point A to point B? Was there no way to see in between? Or was there some narcissistic person that just didn't feel that it was important to let them know, that, missed an opportunity to let the pilot know that it wasn't safe for him to go up? Whatever it was, we do know that a law was broken. A universal law, a law, a physics law. Which law was broken? Or was it a moral law? Was something unethical done? And this is something we may never really be able to determine. And this is how we come up with these conspiracy theories. But the bottom line, with narcissistic people and narcissistic energy inside of inside of our cipher, inside of the space, these are the kind of things that happened. These are the kind of things that happen all the time. Now, this virus, right? This outbreak, right? And the reason I'm connecting these two things together, because this is the worst news that we've had in 2020. So now we have this outbreak coming out of Wuhan in China, allegedly, because we don't really get the full information. So we're getting bits and pieces. And let's think about some laws that, and this is not to be culturally insensitive, but I think that when we think about science and how we rely on science, we rely on the information that comes out of laboratories. We rely on these people who study, biochemicals, and they tell us what we should eat or what we shouldn't be eating, what's good for us and what's not good for us. But is this same education also in China? Are there people who are defying this? Are there people who are so narcissistic that they think by eating a bat that they're going to gain a superpower? Because this coronavirus, as it turns out, is not new. This is a virus that has been around for many, many years. It's many, many strands labeled as what we would call the coronavirus. And so this virus only attacked animals. And it didn't attack them to the degree that they would die. It's almost like what a common cold does to us, right? So how does this virus that usually is only contracted by animals such as bats and camels get into the human body? How does that happen? And so it's crazy to me that these kind of things are happening, because a lot of times when we talk about culture, these people don't think about other people. They don't think about the consequence that this might have. A person may be eating a bat because they admire the characteristics of the bat and don't realize that the bat is a separate entity with a different purpose from a human being. And so what happens is, a lot of times in certain cultures, we believe that we can devour things. We believe that we can suck it up and swallow it, or we can duplicate it. We have no respect for the divine, right? Just like these pharmaceutical companies, like Monsanto, one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies that basically developed this whole GMO concept. This idea that, okay, so since we can't, patent and take nature's biochemical way of creating things, we're going to steal from it, and we're going to take it and we're going to mix the proteins or the amino acids from this fruit, and we're going to put it together with what we pull out of the salmon, right? And we're going to make it, and we're going to make our own orange, right? And then we find out later that we're sick because we're going against the laws of the universe. We're creating outbreaks. We watch all of these movies and films about outbreaks, and the vast majority of people in America, particularly people in the city, would not even know how to survive out in nature if we had a real outbreak. The most we do is watch it on television. But is this preparation for such? And how do you protect yourself? And so there are many different frequencies. But we know that the low level frequency is a frequency where we do things with no regard to other people. The kill frequency, the frequency of death. You have to choose the frequency of life as an empath. And when you choose the frequency of life, you understand that you have to abide by certain laws. You can't just do what you want to do. You're integrated with the sciences, you're integrated with the spiritual information, and you take this information and you try to live your life this way, whether it's Christ-like or Buddha-like or whatever it is. You have to be able to develop a philosophy for life. Because is it preserving life, eating bats and camels? Is it preserving life, trying to take someone's name that they worked really, really hard for, that they built up, such as Black Mamba, and then just take and benefit from it and attach it to your vitamin or your supplement? Things like this create conspiracy theories. Things like this make it possible for people to come out and say, oh yeah, they must have played with the helicopter. This might not be true, but what we do know is true is that a law was broken from a mind that did not have compassion or empathy or the connection with the people on that helicopter to make sure that the right information was delivered. And how you protect yourself is understanding that there are people and entire companies and entities existing on a different frequency that don't give a shit about you. And in their minds, there's not enough space on this earth for us. And so they create genocides, right? They duplicate and mimic viruses like the coronavirus, and cause outbreaks to get rid of people, and then they think they have it contained, but they don't, right? Because what do viruses do? Viruses are just like human beings. They want to live. They want to survive. They're alive. They want to thrive. They want to have sex and multiply. They want to get inside of you. They want to take over. This is what viruses do, right? We don't have control when we go against the grain, when we go against life. And so how you protect yourself is not to become nervous and afraid. It's that you have to figure out what the universal laws are, what the laws of the land are, what the physical laws are for your own physical body, what the spiritual laws are, what the energetic laws are, and you have to abide by them. You have to pull yourself out of that frequency, meaning when you see this information coming through your feed, you don't want to have fear. You want to be able to observe this so that you can confirm that, yeah, this is the reality for some people, but it doesn't have to be your reality, right? You have to become cautious. And this is why it's so sad, because when you get on a plane, a domestic plane, you never really know if you're going to make it there. You just trust that there's something working with you and that your karma is actually going to get you to your destination. Right? You want to believe that you're going to get to your destination on that flight because you have no control. You don't know what that pilot is doing, right? You don't know. For the most part, we can just kind of almost guarantee that we'll get there every time, because businesses understand that if they don't get people safely from one side to the other, that they will suffer massive losses and stock drops. And so this is kind of like how we can rely on domestic flights. But things do happen, and when they do happen, it's usually someone being irresponsible. Narcissistic people suffer with magical thinking they can omit information. Remember, they don't want to be seen. They hide, they blend in. But you can be able to identify the characteristics of these people within your own circle, because remember, narcissistic people go by the code of death. They go by the dark code. They don't believe in life, because if they believed in life, they would be activated and existing within their conscience and their empathy and love. They would do things. They would service other people. Anytime a narcissist brings service to other people or altruism, and they're out there now because they understand that we see narcissistic people, we're starting to see them for who they are, right? And now they know that they have to imitate and mimic us more. These huge companies, Facebook, McDonald's, H&M, a lot of these companies have closed their doors in China. They have stopped movement back and forth, right? Because on the outside, they're showing us that, hey, we're trying to contain this virus. We don't have anything to do with it. But at the same time, Bill Gates donated $10 million to help a pharmaceutical company create a vaccine, right? And there is some other speculation that prior to creating this vaccine, there was some money donated to another laboratory who was trying to duplicate the coronavirus. And so there's just so much going on, and there's always going to be a lot going on. There's nothing to fear, but there is a message, and the bigger message is, am I following the laws of life or death? And you know you're following the laws of life is when what you're doing is not self-serving, right? Because we serve others and it comes back around, and it's a self-serving that is circular, right? It's not going one way. It's not going one way. It absolutely makes no sense that at this day and age we have a virus like this that is causing a panic. Not right now, not in 2020. The year started off really, really scratchy and itchy, and we're trying to find some balance. And so just don't eat snakes, okay? Don't eat frogs. Don't eat things that you're conscious and that your intuition tells you that you're not to eat, that you're not supposed to eat. Remember, there are a lot of people out here who are not operating with a conscience. They don't even think about, the consequence of eating living things. Like me, yeah, I do. I eat meat, and I've been weaning kind of off of it. Now when I look at my plate, I remember or at least I imagine what that chicken may have went through before it got to my plate. And so I'm grateful, and I thank God and I thank the universe, because I understand that this animal was sacrificed for me to live. That is the difference between a narcissistic mind and an empathetic mind. If you can feel compassion for the meat on your plate before you digest it, it will go a long way in your magnetic attraction and in your energy. If you can look at your food not with this hostile, entitled mindset, like I'm supposed to be able to eat this, and understand that people, animals, they die for you every day to get food on your plate. They die in factories. They die working. We have no idea what is going on. It's all circular. But we have to be able to identify the narcissist. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. Hopefully we'll get to the real truth. But we know that our law was broken. And may the universe help us swiftly in resolving this virus.